It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. No, it's not AEW Dynamite, although I am sporting Adam Cole, baby. But the Cleveland Browns went to Cleveland Browns, and which actually means it's Wednesday or Tuesday or Monday or Friday or Saturday. Any other day of the week, the Browns are going to be the Browns. Apparently, the Steelers were right a couple of years ago. Welcome to this breaking news edition of the JC24 Sports Note on YouTube. As many of you have heard, it was across all breaking news through CBS, Fox Sports, ESPN. Earlier today, Baker Mayfield has officially been traded, and we're going to throw the terms of this up on the screen immediately. We're not going to cut to any chase. Baker Mayfield has been traded to the Carolina Panthers. In exchange, Cleveland receives a 2024 conditional fifth-round pick, which could actually be upgraded to a fourth-round pick. Baker was originally owed $19 million after the Browns picked up his club option for 2022. The big sticking point was with where Baker would he go to. There was speculation going all the way back to when the Deshaun Watson deal was made. Would Baker go to Indianapolis? No, they went with Carson Wentz. Would Baker Mayfield go to Seattle? No, they're apparently going to tank and run with Drew Lock after they lost Russell Wilson. And apparently maybe take their chance on a high draft pick with the very, very good quarterback class that's supposed to be coming out in 2023. Then the other target went to, would he go to Carolina? Now, let's also remember that Carolina was one of the forefront teams last year, and I actually blogged about this, that was in the running for Deshaun Watson, which ended up, again, going to Cleveland. So how bitter does that pill have to taste that not only does Carolina miss out on getting Watson, now they have to play against him potentially week one. We're going to get to that here in a minute. But now they're actually suiting up for the guy who everyone thought that they were going to be playing against when the opponents were announced midway through last year, even though the schedule wasn't announced until a later time. But the sticking point for any of these teams was, are they really going to pay a quarterback $19 million who only had 1 year on his deal, and it was only that year? There was no team out there that was going to pick up the entire amount, and Baker had been rumored, and Mike Martinez and I talked about it on the Wise Guy Sports Show over the last couple of weeks. I believe I predicted it, that he was going to go to Carolina, and the major selling point was how much money was going to be picked up. The draft picks and everything were all worked out. Going back to the graphic here, what's going to happen is Baker is going to take about a $3 million pay cut off of that. The Browns are going to retain about $10.5 million worth of his salary, and Carolina is going to pick up $4.5 million of that salary. All in all, it's going to end up saving the Browns between $8 and $9 million in the salary cap department, where now the issue is the Browns, they've got $9 million worth of salary cap space, and also picked up a conditional fourth, maybe fifth round pick that they're not going to get for another 2 years. So basically the Browns sold Baker Mayfield for nothing. Thanks for coming. Guy that we drafted number 1 overall, got us out of a 1-31 slump, got us to within the playoffs 3 of his 4 years here, and got us our first win in 635 days coming in off the bench on primetime TV, and our first playoff win in 25 years. And also was one of the most marketable players in our franchise within the last 10 to 15 years, and that's including Peyton Hillis, who was a Madden cover athlete and was a victim of that jinx. and that's also including Odell Beckham. Baker had, love him or hate him, he had very, very entertaining the progressive commercials, especially for those of us here in Cleveland, considering the Progressive's world headquarters is in Mayfield Heights, Mayfield Village, Ohio. I'm in Mayfield Heights, Ohio, which is the very next suburb over. Their main campus, where a lot of those, where actually some of those commercials were filmed or whatnot, is about literally 3 to 4 minutes by car away from my apartment. Like her, hate Emily Mayfield. She always stuck up for her guy. There's no argument in that. It's along the same lines of the problem that you have with Ayesha Curry, Steph Curry's wife. But the idea of the Browns going the Browns, this is actually now where you had he may not have been the long-term solution. He may not have actually been the franchise quarterback you pegged him out to be. There were some people actually had him going fourth in that draft. I originally wanted Josh Allen when they drafted that, and how's it looking now, with me also being a big fan of the Bills Mafia, that Josh Allen is basically an all-world quarterback, is looking to basically get the Bills over the hump and actually could be Super Bowl contenders for at least the next few years with the talent that they have. And the Browns are essentially now, were that close to the AFC Championship game just 2 years ago, and are now almost back to square one because, we're still waiting on an arbitrator to rule how many games Deshaun Watson's going to end up sitting out. Is it going to be 6? Is it going to be 8? Is it going to be 10? Is it going to be indefinite with a 1-year minimum, where the Browns actually have to go with Jacoby Brissett? There were even people out there speculating that the Browns were going to beg Mayfield to come back if Watson got broken off. That ain't going to happen now, because now you've got the number 1 overall pick in that draft in Baker Mayfield. You've got the number 3 overall pick in Sam Darnold, and Carolina also went out and drafted Matt Corral in the 3rd round. One name that I actually, threw out towards the end of the Big Rican mock draft back in I want to say it was back in March. I can't even remember the dates anymore with this whole whirlwind and everything. But yeah, if you're the Browns, not only are you paying Baker Mayfield $10 million, but you're also paying $243 million to a guy who's likely not going to play at least to the third of the season, if not be broken off the whole year. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if I could actually see a scenario where the judge rules that, Deshaun Watson is suspended for 8 games, and the NFL puts Watson on the exempt list, much like how they did with, here's another sore spot for Browns fans. Josh Gordon, anybody? Who kept getting suspended and eventually got broken off for a whole year when there was so much promise that year of him coming back 100%. So this is definitely nothing new to Browns fans. But Carolina right now has a very, very enviable position. Sam Darnold is clearly not going to be the answer, but you've got a guy in Baker Mayfield who has been shown that he can actually, get wins, even though he's a bit of a gunslinger. He's now going to be in warm weather, at least. Well, you figure 8 games in Carolina, he's going to actually have decent weather. He's not going to have to worry about snow. He's going to be between Atlanta and New Orleans. He's going to be in domes a couple of those games. He's, the NFC West. I can't remember who how the matchups and everything rotate. I know they are going to have to play the AFC North with this round, but who knows when what the weather's going to look like if they have to, because they're going to host Cleveland in week 1, and how ironic is that now on September 11th. But there's everyone talking about, Myles Garrett's going to eat Baker Mayfield for lunch and everything. Yeah, Carolina's got a lot of work to do, and the Browns defense is very much improved. But I wouldn't be the least bit surprised with all the turmoil and everything if Jacoby Brissett is starting week 1 for the Browns and Baker Mayfield is starting week 1 for the Carolina Panthers. And I don't see any scenario where Matt Corral or Sam Darnold beats Baker Mayfield out for that starting position unless, Baker gets hurt in the preseason. I could definitely see the Browns pushing that opening day winless record to 14 years now or whatever it is, which is an NFL record. He's going to look very good in that black, silver, and Carolina blue, a lot better than he actually did with that orange and brown. And not to disparage the orange and brown, because I grew up here, I was a fan, and I say is because as long as Deshaun Watson is the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, the scumbag that he is, I will not be cheering for this team. I actually will be sitting back on my couch watching First Energy Stadium or whatever they're going to be calling it burn while sitting back and maybe not playing a fiddle, but certainly playing my guitar like a fiddle. But this is Carolina essentially got Baker Mayfield for a song. They actually gave up a medium pick that is going to be on the back end of the Browns roster, only had to pay $5 million, and they've got a bona fide starting quarterback right now, who's just coming off of a major shoulder and labrum surgery, but has actually been healthy for some time. Yes, played through the injury last year and still almost got the Browns into the playoffs in a very, very tough division where anytime you've got Roethlisberger's swan song and Lamar Jackson and the Cincinnati Bengals, who are within like 3 minutes of winning a Super Bowl coming out of that division, and the Browns were, just under 500, were like hovering around that 500 mark pretty well until the end of the year. That was the toughest division of football, probably still is, although you're going to see the Steelers definitely come back to earth now, even with Kenny Pickett. If Deshaun Watson plays, yes, he does make Cleveland a much better team. The problem is that with his skill set and the fact that he likes to run, he's not going to be able to do that very well when the traction sucks when the rain and the snow comes here late in the season. So, but this is also very, very telling because, again, let me throw the graphic up one more time and just look at basically even the little bit of money that the Browns are saving. Still look at everything that they're paying right now on top of the money that they're paying Deshaun Watson. This is now back-to-back trades between Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson that the supposed, best GM of the Cleveland Browns going, you'd have to go all the way back to Ernie Accorsi back in the great 80s teams with Bernie Kosar, Kevin Mack, Ernest Biner, Clay Matthews, the original dog pound of Hanford Dixon, Frank Minifield, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Andrew Berry's actually been exposed. He was a big analytics guy, and we all thought that, by putting the team and everything together, he got his guy for head coach, and Kevin Stefanski, who got a little bit exposed this year. Stefanski's pride got in his way by not shutting Baker down earlier, giving them possibly a better chance to succeed in some of those games, to where this is actually even a moot point. If Mayfield gets shut down early enough, he gets his surgery, and the Browns retool and know that the season is kind of lost, and they, possibly extend Baker or let him play out that 1 year. They don't trade for Deshaun Watson. They've got tons of draft capital left, and the Browns are very, very poised to make a huge, huge run at things this year. But then they actually give up 3 years worth of first-round picks and an average of $46 million over the next 5 years to get a guy who is vilified by a lot of activist groups. He's vilified in the court of public opinion and anyone with half a brain, because anyone who's right now defending Deshaun Watson is a blind Browns loyalist. I almost like to call them never Browners, or something to that effect. And I think you know where I'm making the correlation there with another individual in the news who I actually talked about in my last show that went up yesterday. But the the thought process that with his last trade a couple of months ago, he gives up tons and tons of salary cap room and mortgages the team's future, and then only ends up getting $5 million in cap. He only ends up getting about $8 million in cap relief, and also gives up the starting quarterback and only gets a medium pick. Andrew Berry in his last two major trades has been absolutely fleeced to the point where it's actually hilarious. The Browns, I'm not saying that they might as well be 1-31 again, but they're not going anywhere anytime soon. This is this is almost pathetic to hilarious proportions with everything that's come out of this, because the Browns come out looking like idiots all the way around. They look like idiots because now they've got a quarterback who they don't know when he's going to play. They've paid a fortune. They've mortgaged the future. They don't know when they're going to get the guy, and they can't even actually make a proper trade to get rid of the guy who he replaced without getting a decent return back with this. So let me know what you guys think down below. Again, we should hopefully have an update on the next Wise Guys sports show, the July edition. Whether there's going to be multiple shows, Mike and I are still working out with everything going on this month. But again, let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Take care.